Allow the mind to become empty and open your heart to the source of all things. When harmonizing with the source, you can become more aware of the natural cycles and patterns of life, and how the ways of society reflect the rhythms of the universe. Lao Tzu suggests that returning to the openness of Source helps you develop a deeper insight in order to move with rather than against life's natural flow. Denying or oblivious to the way of things can cause a sense of confusion, frustration, and sadness. However, understanding what endures and uniting with it can help develop tolerance, impartiality, kindness, and generosity. At one with the natural way, you can deal better with challenges, and when the body comes to its end, you will be at peace. When wise ones lead, people hardly know they are present. The next best leader is one who is admired. The next kind of leader is one who is feared. And finally, one who is despised. Those who lack trust in others are often not trusted by others. And notice how, when people are not trusted, they might decide it's not worth being trustworthy because fixed opinions have already condemned them. Lao Tzu suggests that when evolved leaders act without unnecessary speech, people are able to discover things for themselves. And when leaders do not dominate or manipulate, people can feel as though they have accomplished things by themselves. Thus, a wise leader guides rather than rules. And by trusting others, people can enjoy their work more and feel self-governed. When the natural way is forgotten, hardened rules of morality appear. And when the intellect tries to dictate or control things, hypocrisy arises. In a similar manner, without natural bonding in a home, family loyalty feels like a forced obligation. And when a nation becomes divided or threatened, patriotism can get out of balance. Lao Tzu points out how when the natural harmony of life is forgotten, then false kindness and ethics are taught, and people begin to pretend and harden, rather than coming from the natural kindness of the heart. In part 19, Lao Tzu suggests to discard false piety that masquerades as holiness or wisdom, and it will be 100 times better for everyone. Discard concepts of righteousness or required giving, and people will remember natural caring. Discard strategies, greed, and unfair profits, and thoughts of thievery and fraud will lessen within people. If these are not enough, then return to simplicity and see the beauty in raw silk or plain wood. Reduce self-centered interests and temper selfish desires. Lao Tzu shares how when people's minds are not filled with profit or false piety, then communities can return to natural caring. Without imposed righteousness, people will find it easier to live together, and all extremes will eventually balance themselves. When no longer limited by academic definitions and no longer striving, people can feel less troubled. Wise ones have learned that they do not need to value what others value or to avoid what others despise. They understand that how one interprets a yes or no gives it power. Ordinary people can appear cheerful, as though going to a feast or hiking in the spring. To these people, the sage might appear to drift like a cloud that is blown by the wind. And to those who have plenty, the sage might appear to have nothing, and to be a fool whose mind is empty. Like an infant that has not begun to smile, the sage's face might appear expressionless. While others might need to be bright and seen, the sage is often unseen. To others who need to be exacting with a purpose, the sage might appear shy, dull, or weak. However, the sage is different from others, and he or she gain nourishment from the Great Mother and inner source. True confidence can be found in those who remain centered and who honor their own uniqueness. The greatest growth and power come from following the way of life. Observe and contemplate the way of things. How the invisible life force does things can be elusive or hard to grasp. And yet, from the invisible emerges the visible. Although obscure, the life force is the very essence or potential from which all life comes. Evolved ones realize that the life force is beyond what the mind perceives as reality. Thus, they remain fluid, rather than attaching to ideas that define it. They contemplate how energy becomes matter, and how matter is energy. How do we know that the life force exists? Because of the life that is present this very moment. By yielding when others have strong opinions, evolved ones can remain centered and clear. And being flexible allows them to overcome obstacles more easily. To become full, they are willing to become empty. Not attached to outer possessions, they gain inner wealth. For they realize that having too much can confuse the mind. And when old ideas pass away, inner truth can come alive. Lao Tzu shares how wise ones do not display themselves, and thus people can see their natural radiance. They do not justify or defend themselves, and thus people can feel at ease in their presence. Since they do not boast or try to convince others, they receive natural recognition and people trust them. Without making claims, how can they falter? And since they do not quarrel, others are less likely to quarrel against them. Being truly whole, they no longer need to impress others. Remaining centered in the way, they notice how the world is a reflection of their thoughts in that moment. In nature, high winds eventually quiet down, and heavy rains eventually subside. So it is with humans. Their strong emotions can change. Thus, evolved ones cultivate a balanced way and identify with its neutralizing power. Lao Tzu suggests that what you identify with is what you will become, and what you believe is what you will experience. So those who identify with virtue experience virtue, while those who identify with failure feel failure. As well, those who lose the way often feel lost. If you do not believe in yourself, then how can others believe in you? Only attitudes that are sustained have the power to bring about effective change. Evolved ones notice that when reaching too high on tiptoes, one is not grounded or stable. And when moving too quickly, it is difficult to sustain the pace. They notice how those who show off are not using wisdom, and those who act with self-righteousness are not respected. Living from humility, evolved ones do not make claims, nor do they act in excess. They realize that when something is overdone, it tends to decline quickly. Was there something before heaven and earth were born? Was it a unified field of the potential for energy and matter? Silent, vast, unchanging, and ever-present. Some regard it as the mother of all things. Lao Tzu used the word Tao and also called it great. Being great, it is infinite and ongoing. Being great, it flows out and returns from non-form to form, and then back to non-form again. The way is great. Heaven is great. Earth is great. And humanity is great. Humanity has to follow the way of earth in order to survive. The earth follows the way of the heavens. The heavens follow the way of that which began everything. The way follows itself, or becomes what is in the present moment.